That's something to look forward to.
Exactly. So, welcome back to the Learners Always Right podcast episode. I want to say we're up at episode 30.
Oh, we might be at 30. I could
Yeah.
find out for sure, but I think we're close if we're not there. Yes, we are at 30. Holy cow.
Hey, okay, okay.
Wow. This wasn't just a short-term
Um,
PhD thing for us. That's good.
no, yeah, I agree. So one of the things that I think is important that we pick up on is something that recently happened. And this morning, there was the release of information from an independent autopsy for Nolan Xavier Wells. And I have some pictures I'd like to share that I screenshotted. And the independent autopsy results of the death determined that they cannot rule out foul play. The back of the head had an injury, and there was a missing throat. Right, his throat was just absent. Um, so I am not this kind of doctor that deals with this. Robin, I don't know if you have any expertise in
I
this.
do not, but I do know it seems sus.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about somebody who we are concerned was lynched.
Hmm.
And that, if they're hanged, then the area around the throat is what we want to investigate. And the autopsy press conference reveals that the autopsy was marked as undetermined because there was a body part missing. Mississippi failed to send Nolan's throat with missing toxicology reports. The medical examiner who did the first autopsy still hasn't released their findings. So, a few things. One, Mississippi is known for the most lynchings in all states. Just gonna put that out there.
Preach.
Number two, one of the things that I heard Ben Crump, the lawyer, say, and I
Go.
think that I'm interpreting
Yeah.
this correctly. Ben Crump is the lawyer for Nolan Wells. He
Wow.
said, I'm not quite sure. It sounded like he said that sometimes that they they will remove or withhold certain body parts for whatever reason, but he said that this is
Yeah.
still very concerning. So it's definitely an ongoing thing. I I'm just very I'm doubtful that the parents or the family will get all of their answers, and I doubt they'll get justice. I am aware that America has a two-tier justice system where, some people get the best of the justice system and other people, usually black people, get the worst of it, where it either doesn't work properly or it's working as intended, where it works against us, whether we are being accused of a crime or convicted. We get harsher jail times, harsher sentences for the same crimes. Or if you are the victim of a crime, you'll often not get justice on that side of the coin as well. And that's, America was built off of anti black racism. You know what I mean? It's so to assume that all of that was excised out of the system is foolish, in my opinion. So that's my diatribe. What say you?
Well, I actually found an article that kind of like goes through and describes everything, and I went ahead and posted it in the resources. And so my faces and my like sounds were in response to that article because I was just I'm over it, like
Mm-hmm.
in a not a I'm over hearing about this sort of way, but I'm over this happening thing. First off, I just wanted to provide some context for that. But I posted that in the resources, so I'll make sure that that's available. And it's from the Associated Press, which I tend to like a little more than some of the other sources that you could find and use. Um, I am just frustrated, I think, and like I know this is going to sound like white woman tears. I don't mean for it to at all. I'm frustrated because I've seen this stuff happening for so long. I can't imagine being a person of color in the position and knowing that it's been happening this whole time. And so, like, I don't want to appropriate that feeling. I don't want to, take that from people of color. But I empathize so heavily with the community because it's so hard to see it happen over and over again and nothing changing and nothing being done about it. And it just kind of makes me go back to the place of, well, what can I do? How can I change things? How can I make an impact? And so I get into that let's try to fix it mode, which, there are some really good people out there who are trying to do some good work, that may not know how to do it, but at the same time, it's like we really need action, folks, and that's kind of where I go to. It's frustrating. I think overall, it's like the feeling, and I'm not surprised, and I hate that I'm not surprised, and it continues to happen without me being surprised. And do I think anything will come of this investigation? And no, I don't, because the people who are probably guilty are being protected, and we have already discussed that the people who lawyered up have people in their lives in positions of power. I think one parent's like a judge, another is like some sort of a police officer type individual with authority, and that makes it even more diluted, and less of a chance that an outcome will come out that's actually what happened and the truth, versus some story that investigators will come up with to protect the guilty.
Yeah, no, I I definitely agree. Um, it's very frustrating, and I appreciate your what you're saying. I don't think that it takes away from anything. I think that when we're talking about there's this thing called the digital parade of Black Death, that is just a constant. This time next week there will be another name and another person who we're
Yeah.
mourning because of what happened to them. I think I said that on another video, and I'm saying it
Mm-hmm.
now here.
It's a
Um,
really good video too. Go check that out if you haven't.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and it's just nothing's gonna happen until there's enough uproar and enough people fighting for change, and the systems are currently designed to keep it happening. And just the level of bigotry we see and xenophobia is amplified by the current administration, and people are
Enabled.
emboldened. Yeah, it's enabled and reinforced, and people are emboldened to behave in these ways, and it's just really concerning to see. And then it's really interesting because it's like there's that book. One day everybody will say that they were against this, or you
That's
know
on
what I
my
mean, like
that's on my list. I'm actually
same.
looking forward to reading that one.
Same, because I mean, if you think about like apartheid South Africa, you know what I mean? Like everybody, oh yeah, I was against that. That was terrible. I would never. You know what I mean? But it's like those people are still around. You know what I mean? Same with segregation. My
Hmm.
parents, are old enough to have experienced life before segregation. So
Right.
there are people, presidents, the president that was alive that
Yeah, he
17,
experienced it.
exactly. So I mean, what kind of growth did they have? What were their values growing up? What were they taught? You know what I mean? And those are the people that are running the country, and I'm supposed to expect that they have no racist ideologies baked within their behavior. Nah, I am not so foolish. I'm not so naive.
I don't think anybody should be that naive or whatever. I think if you're at this point, you're still in denial about racism and xenophobia and all of these other isms. I think you're just willfully ignorant. I
Hmm.
don't know how you could not be aware of these things happening, even at the like lowest tier. How could you
Hmm.
not see that this is going on? And if you're truly in denial about that, one of my favorites is when people call you a racist on your videos. It's like, I'm sorry, what? You can't be racist if you're the oppressed. Like
Yeah.
that just doesn't work. It doesn't track. It doesn't make sense. And so like the autism brain comes in and it's like that's illogical. You know that, right? Um,
Yeah.
but like, how can you say that racism doesn't exist and like have eyes and have ears and be able to know all these things happening? It's just complete denial and willful ignorance. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have any other explanation for it. And I'm very, very sorry if you deal with any of those people in your lives if you're watching or listening. So please
No,
don't be.
thank you. A few things about that. One, a lot of times on Facebook, especially, they'll do like, "Oh, you're playing the victim card," and then it's like, I wouldn't have the card
Yeah.
if you
You
didn't
handed
hand
it
it to
to
me,
somebody. Yeah.
and you only play with the cards you're dealt. That's one. And then two, people will be like, "Oh, you're using an ad hominem, this, that." It's like, I'm not debating you. I don't respect you. Okay, so we're not. I've learned to just not have that back and forth because one, I don't believe in debate bro type BS, and then
Well,
two,
it's tactic.
I've yeah, it's tactic, and two, I don't think that people rarely learn in these situations, and then three, that Toni Morrison quote always comes up for me. One of the functions of racism is to waste your time. I'm butchering the quote, but I mean, it's like you spend so
Yeah.
much time trying to argue against it that you don't have any other time for anything else. There's this thing, Brand Brandoli's law. I just learned this thing. I'm gonna search it real quick. Of course, it doesn't want to search. I'll have to go over here. But Brandoli's law states that the amount of energy needed to refute misinformation is far more than the amount needed to produce it. Let me
I
type it in.
love that. It's so true.
So let me just get
Oh my
that.
gosh. I'm gonna have to make something on that for Niraba because we talk about like the spoon theory and all that sort of stuff, especially with like disability. And you have to spend excessive amounts of spoons to be able to refute the misinformation or refute ableism and racism and sexism and all of that. I love that it's summarized so beautifully. That
Yeah.
yes.
So the amount of time, energy, and time needed to produce BS, and the amount of time and energy needed to refute it. Like it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean?
That
They,
is the struggle.
they'll say like, oh, blacks are the way they are because they're fatherless. You know what I mean? But then you just type in black fathers stats, and then you'll learn that like there was research. This is the AI overview, but it's a myth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had to do research to highlight not that, but black dads involved more in children's in activities with their children than other groups, right? According to the CDC. So they had to do all this research just to be like, yo, that's a myth, that's BS. You know what I mean? So,
Where
like,
did they
it's
come up with
Brandoli's
this
law.
though? Like, come on. Like, there's just like this group of old white men that sit around and just make shit up. And then they're like, hey, let's generate this one about the blacks. And
Yeah.
let's generate
Yeah.
this one about the disabled. And like, what? And women.
And then
like,
yeah.
They have it out for us.
And at some point, it also becomes every accusation is a confession. Because like like the amount of white people that end up going non-contact or no contact with their parents, or the ways that I've seen, there's like how white people often interact with their parents, or what they're taught, what they're not taught. Black mothers not cooking, white mothers not cooking food well, which is it's a stereotype. I don't believe it all the time, but
I'm not a great cook.
but I mean, like in the past, the white mother didn't have to cook because they had somebody to cook for them, so
Yeah.
they didn't have to learn. So it makes sense socioculturally. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just.
If we could just find that group of old white men and just like kind of like move them aside, that would be great. But
Yeah, no. And
I
I
just
used to go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I just get so I go down the rabbit hole of where did this even come from, and like I can never trace back an origin of any of these. So it's just people making shit up.
Old husband's tales. Old divorced husbands' tales.
The what is it? The boomer husband humor, the I hate my wife
Oh
nonsense.
my
Like it's all
god.
that same culture. That's all of it.
I never understood that, especially because like my parents still married, love each other very much. It
That's
never
awesome.
like it's like what why would you hate your why would you marry someone you don't like
I know. It doesn't make any sense. And it's like, I'll tease my spouse or whatever. I'll just be like, I'm trying to think of a good
hmm
example, but it's never like self-deprecating, like, you know, I hate you and my God, why did I marry you and stuff. Like, why would I?
yeah. No,
I
and
don't get it.
on top of that, I think there's also like the men who don't like women kind of. I won't say
Oh, for
trope,
sure.
but it's like a thing where it's like
They
they are
exist.
just a warm hole
Hmm.
for like it's what some men see women as, and it's like you don't want them to have any things that you like together. Like one of the things that my fiance and I got together over is we really like basketball. So
Oh,
we were
okay.
able to bond over that. You know what I mean? And then I
Hmm.
watch her shows. She watches my shows. She ended up starting to like
Yep.
anime, and then I would watch her. You know, what is it called? The Masked Singer or whatever
Oh,
types of
yeah.
shows like that that would come up that we would watch together, and like we would learn each other's stuff and enjoy each other's stuff. And we take time. One of the things that we love is like when we're about to go to bed, we'll watch each other's TikToks that we sent each other. So like
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
watch her
We do that.
TikToks, she'll watch mine. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's just a little time together, and we look at the comments together and stuff, and
Right.
have a good old time. Like we genuinely enjoy each other's company. I'm excited to go places with her. I
Yeah.
don't get people that don't have that. How are you dating somebody and you don't enjoy being around them?
I guess it's settling. I don't know. It's like, I mean, I got married later in life because how old was I? I was probably like 39, 40 when I got married. And, that was because I had been through many relationships that I was like, this isn't great. So I don't
hmm
know that I want to continue this. So, yeah, I don't know if it's like a settling. There's also a lot of societal pressure to get married and have kids.
Yeah.
And that's something as somebody who can't have children, um, I have constantly had to fight that. And I just don't follow tradition. I never have. I never will. And so, if I'm not married, I don't have kids, I don't want to have kids or plan to have kids, aside from the fact that I physically cannot have children,
hmm
um, I still get questioned about it. Are you and your husband gonna have kids? And it's just like, first off, that's none of your business. Second off,
hmm
I can't have children. And that usually shuts that conversation down real fast. But the society really reinforces that. And so a lot of our friends either, are in the situation like us where they've embraced like a child-free type lifestyle, and either they are chosen child-free or they're like forced child-free. And the other are like, we got young, married, we had kids young, and now we're kind of in this situation. We didn't know it was an option to not have kids. And so, like, that reckoning kind of has come for
Yeah.
them, where they're like, wow, okay, I just did this thing because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And it's like,
hmm
but it's funny because all of us who are neurodivergent tend to wait later. and and so it's like I don't know, it's just interesting. But yeah, there
No,
are
it
definitely
is.
some of our connections who are like, man, I didn't even know that was a choice. Like,
hmm
so it's very, very deeply ingrained, especially in American society.
Yeah, and one of the things that I heard, I love these little things that I heard from like Instagram or Twitter or whatever, or yeah, wherever I hear it online. They said tradition is just peer pressure from the deceased, and
Oh,
I'm
totally.
like, it really is, and I am so somebody who will buck tradition
Yeah.
at the easiest drop of a hat. 'Cause it's like if I don't vibe with it, I don't vibe with it. I'm not gonna keep it around just because some people decided to do it. Maybe it was, maybe they found value in reinforcement then, but that
Yep.
behavior or that tradition has none now for me in this context. And it's time for me to build some new traditions.
Yeah. What I hear is you have some pathological demand avoidance in your psyche. So I also have that.
Well,
It's like you tell me you want me to do something, I'm gonna not do it harder.
well, when it, it seems like there's definitely neurodivergence that runs through my family, and
Well,
so
everyone's a little spicy.
yeah, yeah. So I just also, like, one of my biggest things is, like, you expect a child to sit still in a chair, and as soon as they don't sit still in a chair for a long period of time, it's, like, never in the history, except for the last, like, 200 years, has it been humans needing to sit still for 7 hours straight. Like,
7 hours
we
straight. Oof.
we were supposed to be, moving around, especially kids. I don't know.
Yeah. Context being school, I'm assuming that you're kind of
Yeah, school,
talking
and then
about here.
also work now. It's like, oh yeah, sit in your cubicle, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah.
Yeah. Well, you get 15-minute breaks every few hours. You know that. It's fine. It's fine.
That should be fine, right? Right?
That's,
That's fine for
that should
them.
be, yeah. Otherwise, you need to go back to producing. Like, shut up. Produce.
Hmm.
Listen
The
to the man.
capitalist needs his capital. Come
God damn
on,
it.
produce.
Jeff Bezos is not rich enough, folks. We need to really work harder to make him richer because no,
Exactly.
everybody needs trillions of dollars. Isn't he the first
Everybody.
trillionaire? No,
I think it's Elon.
it is Elon. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Which
care enough. So
there, it cannot be a coincidence that the richest person in the world and the first one to reach this $1 trillion is also a racist. Is also a
I was where you were
transphobe.
going with that. I was
Like,
I was gonna add,
like,
and
like,
he's racist and
yeah,
ableist. When he
yeah,
also is
enablers.
autistic.
So I mean, it's like these are not coincidences. I mean, like,
Almost like it was
capitalism.
planned that way.
Yeah, I mean, capitalism and racism are like this. You know what I mean? So
Truly.
I mean, I don't know. Have you ever heard of dual consciousness?
Yes, I can't explain it to you, but I've heard of it. I'll look some
So
up.
dual consciousness was founded by Du Bois, and he's saying that basically, let me go to Du Bois. A double consciousness. I'm sorry, double consciousness is what I meant. Um, Double consciousness is the psychological challenge of viewing oneself through the prejudiced eyes of the white dominant society, resulting in a fragmented identity of being both an American and a black person, or in his words, American and a Negro, right?
Yeah.
So he came up with this double consciousness theory, and one of the things that I've been thinking of recently is it's widely accepted and understood that black people experience this double consciousness. And then, if black people experience double consciousness, would that mean that white people, especially white Americans, experience a single consciousness? Thus, explaining why many white people don't perceive problems of racism as often as black people feel like they should. If it doesn't affect you, how would you know? I'm being very charitable.
Right.
I think there's ways that you should know and you should see it. But, like, when I've done my research, I'm like, dang, how did nobody else see this that's in the field? Everybody in the field is pretty much white that's doing research. And it's like, well, it didn't really affect them as much, or they didn't see it as valuable as I do. Right? So
Right.
they were working and operating from that single consciousness compared to where I'm operating from a double consciousness.
Yeah, it's very valid. And I think so. This is a really interesting, and I had heard of this because I've read a lot about Dubois or Du Bois. How do you say it?
Yeah. Du Bois.
Du Bois. Okay. I knew he was taught and raised by a white family, and so like I just wasn't sure how his name would be pronounced given that socialization and that
Yeah.
structure and everything. So something to keep in mind is that he was very educated for someone of his time and of his race. And one could suggest that he passed with privilege because of the opportunities that he was awarded. And so I love that he was able to kind of break through and explain some of this. And so the concept of double consciousness is really interesting to me because I compare it similarly to masking and autism and how we kind of discuss that. Now, when we talk about like double consciousness and we talk about that situation, I haven't experienced some of the phenomenon that I've read about and that we've talked about and that like I'm fully aware that exists and I even kind of see in everyday interactions, but at the same time I can empathize with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've gotten to a place where I can empathize with it because I've been taught by people of color. And so, that's something that I've kind of gotten to a better place, and I still have a lot of understanding and learning to do. It's never done because
Mm-hmm.
I don't experience that identity. And it's the same thing we talk about with disability because, when we go into these places, we have to mask. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
can't act a certain way or we're going to be treated differently. And, it's the same thing. So we assimilate into the culture of expectation similarly to this idea. So it's like, Du Bois was way ahead of understanding all of these phenomenon, but just doesn't seem to get the credit for it, which is really unfortunate because this is really good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's like what I find interesting is a lot of people in our field, and I don't know if it's other fields too that have this, but like a lot of people in our field often are very are knowledgeable about applied behavior analysis,
Hmm.
but their breadth of knowledge outside of it sometimes is lacking. I
Yep.
find, and they don't read
It is.
outside. They don't read widely. And I mean, I get that there's a lot of contingencies pulling their behavior all sorts of different ways. For
Yeah.
me, it's important to read widely, to read outside. Like, I got a whole stack of books right here. I pulled the first book on top. I got Black Power, Kwame Ture, and Charles V. Hamilton, The Politics of Liberation. You know? And then I got another book that's talking about a thematic analysis so I could be able to do mixed methods and not just quantitative research, right? So I'm like, I find that it's necessary to pull from different schools of thought to be able
Yeah.
to describe what's going on or at least interpret the data. Some people feel like, this is the way been taught. This is the way I've done it. This is the way it's supposed to be done. This is the only way to do it, and just
Hmm.
this. And it's like, y'all, like, we get to be so creative, but some people are like, no, the box, stay in it.
There's so much hypocrisy in ABA. And, as you were talking about this, I had this epiphany. And so it's interesting how broadly generalized, not you specifically, um, or you watching or listening, do this thing. But we tend to keep ourselves in this little niche. But yet we are like the only field who boldly goes into all these different areas and say, well, ABA can be used everywhere. And so, like, what is up with that hypocrisy? It's like you don't want to go and learn about these additional variables or these contingencies or contexts or environmental factors and everything, but yet you think you're good enough to go work with feeding disorders? Like, the audacity, in my opinion, is just like absolutely unreal. And it's the confidence of a mediocre white man that comes into those conversations, I'm telling you. And so, I put something on LinkedIn recently about how I don't think BCBAs are qualified to do feeding disorders and feeding therapy. And the amount of white men that came for me that I have never met in my life, are you kidding? And it's just like, of course you feel entitled to work on this behavior. Of course you feel that way, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does
Mm-hmm.
that say? So our socialization is very different. And I think that it's just that difference between seeking out information and actually like having that knowledge and that skill set and being able to apply it. It's like we want to have the advantage of being able to say we can do all the things, but we don't want to actually take the work to get there. And that's what I see in ABA, and that's what pisses me off.
Exactly. I agree
Period.
wholeheartedly. No, you're 100% correct. And my thing is like I am always so interested to learn, especially from people who are
Same.
who are like experts or super knowledgeable in their
Mm-hmm.
area, and that makes me want to go collaborate. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, let me see what I can learn from you. Let me see how I can add what I know to improve whatever we're doing together, so that we can have a better end product. And I think because of the way that ABA is taught, people who graduate in ABA think that other disciplines don't are invalid,
Inferior.
don't inferior, don't have anything to help apply, produce, support, or
Yep.
contribute. And it's just so frustrating because that kind of arrogance is going to forever limit the field. And like right now, I'm gonna be going to do a study, and I I am so like is not going to be in ABA. I am moving to education, special education, and I believe that those could be so much, areas that it could actually take off in. So I was like, when I publish, I want it to be in an education, special education journal, and then when I go talk at conferences, I'm going to be looking at AERA or CEC for the first time. I've never been to those conferences, but I definitely want to attend, learn, and present there. ABAI, it's going to be in New Orleans, which is only reason why I would want to go. But next year might have to miss me for the first time in a long time because I can't do it. I mean, I'm so embarrassed.
I, I mean, trust me, I've been preaching about ABAI for years now, and I, it's disappointing that at this point, even if they were to like make things better, it's like it took so much resistance and fighting to get here that I have lost complete respect for you. And I don't care to give you a significant amount of money. I have found way more value in state conferences, smaller conferences, but also like interdisciplinary conferences. And the funny thing is, even though like we have generally a reputation in ABA as being stiff and rigid and not flexible and elitist and all these other things and traumatizing and all of it's generally bad. Interdisciplinary conferences seek out some of us who want to go and collaborate and they want us to come present. Like I've had really good experiences with all of those and interdisciplinary teams I might mention for research and stuff like that. Like there are some really great opportunities that you're missing out on. And I mean, that's fine. I'll take them. But because I value those, but you're really setting yourself up for a lack of really great experiences if you close yourself off to those things. So I don't
I
know.
agree.
Once again, I think it's willful ignorance.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one of the things that what you were saying reminded me of is like I learned so much. Like when you're a master's student, everybody with a doctor or a doctorate seems so knowledgeable and cool and smart and like they could do no wrong. At least that's where I was at the time.
Yeah.
And then once you get up here and they're your peers or colleagues, then you learn some other things. Uh, People who were examples, then their behavior becomes non-examples. And I've had that in the last year where it's like, man, I super respected you. And for some things that you've done, I still respect those things and those behaviors.
Right.
But the way that you're acting over here, psh, that's thank you for teaching me more about not only how to behave but how not to behave and how I don't want to be perceived or I don't want to act in public or how I don't want to show up because I see those things and I'm like, dang, like, you know,
Yep.
it's just so interesting to see. It's like, people say never meet your heroes. It's also that these are not people shouldn't be put on pedestals.
Oh, especially in like academia. We're
Oh,
all in this to continue to grow and evolve as a discipline. And that I was going to say, can we talk a little bit about hero worship in ABA because it's sick? Also, I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but once you do, it's wild. When you go to a conference as a presenter and you're interacting with the other presenters, and you're with people who are like giants in the field, so people who are really
Mm-hmm.
put on that pedestal of hero worship within ABA. Um, some of the things that have I have found out about people who are considered legends in the field, really, really toe curling. Like, it is really gross. And like, I have a really great anecdotal story that I could tell about somebody. I don't have evidence and I don't have receipts, so I can't post it on Nirava. But it would really ruin one man's career if
Yeah.
the stuff that I said got out. Basically, the guy wanted to use the R word.
Mhm.
Yeah, as a joke. As a joke. And this man asked me, had the audacity to ask me once he learned I was autistic, what the problem was with using that word. And I'm like, where do I begin? Also, like, why would you ask the autistic person why it would not be okay to use that word? So, yeah. You'd all be
The
shocked. You would all be shocked if you knew who it was.
the unmitigated gall, the audacity, the caucasity.
It's almost like he was an old white man in ABA, because he was.
And a lot of these old men have these old men gross behaviors. I remember being a master's student learning about, it's like, damn, creepy old man with students, with master's students or
Yeah.
PhD students or just graduate
And the
students in
power.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned I never want to be that. So like the way that I move, the way that I operate, the way that I have to be very intentional. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm changing the way that I do things. Where when I was a student, I used to go out, have fun, and now I just like I don't really want to, for a lot of reasons. Not just because I don't want to seem like the creepy old man, but also because like where is the value, and I look to, who do I respect, who do I see doing the right thing in these areas, and how do they move and what do they do? And what I see is like a lot of them, they don't be going out. They be like, "Up, it's my bedtime." They have boundaries, healthy
Yeah.
boundaries. They know how to like, they know like, okay, I have a graduate student, and she's a woman, and I know this is a creepy old man, and the creepy old man, the creepy old man's talking to my graduate student. I need to remove my graduate student from that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember the first time, because I did my master's through FIT, so it was all online. And when I went to conferences, I didn't really have professors or anybody who I like knew in person to go to and like get assistance. Now, when I started my doctorate, I became really close to my professors at Chicago School, and obviously I've kind of stayed with it. But with that, I didn't get my first exposure to, hey, don't find yourself alone in a room with this person, or don't spend too much time around that person. They were all white men and all published authors in ABA. And, somebody had actually kind of figured out I was probably on the spectrum before that, because they were like, here's the thing, you're not going to notice those cues, and you need to protect yourself because I know how you are. And you'll think that this person is trying to be your friend, and they're not. They're trying to prey on you. And I will never forget that feeling when, first off, I felt seen. And I had never felt seen in that way before. Second off, I was like, I didn't realize just how bad things actually were. And so all of a sudden, the lack of safety became very evident, and I never unsaw it. And so, there's a little bit of naiveness to, I think, a lot of that. And I think that kind of embeds into that hero worship. It's like, well, these people have published really great things, and they've talked about really awesome ways we can support people and all that, and yada, yada, yada. But it's like, but you don't see the behind the scenes where they want to drop the R word, and you don't see where they, take advantage of students because they're in a position of power, and the students can't say no to them. Otherwise, they're not going to get their degree they've worked so hard for. It's all really, really disturbing. So if you're not aware of that culture, try to dig. There's information out there. And, we
Yeah.
have some receipts on Niraba for some of the behavior. And, I could drop some names, but, they're already out
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah. And to be fair, of course, somebody's probably already typing it in the chat. They probably already typed it. If you get to this point, I said it. It's of course not all old white men.
oh
There
my God, the
are
fact that you have
old
to
white,
make that claim.
yeah, there are old white men, and that are incredible, positive, good examples of how to behave, how to operate, how to move, how to be protective of women, to make sure that they're not around the creepy old white men. Like like there's a spectrum. Unfortunately, if it were a weighted scale, the bad might be more weight than the good.
Hard to
So I
keep my balance
mean,
on that scale.
but of course, not all old white men. That being said,
You're being like the nice black person extending the olive branch. You don't have to at this point. I'm a white woman, I'll say it, and I won't extend that olive branch because I have been harmed by a lot of older white men. So, whatever. Um, all
and I
that
think
to
it,
say that, if you feel a way about that statement, there's probably a reason you feel a way about that statement. So
yeah,
that is something to look into and investigate and figure out why you feel that way. Work through those complex emotions. And, like, I'm married to a white man. And the fact is, like, we've had this conversation multiple times. You don't feel a way about it because you must not display those behaviors. And that is what makes it different. So,
exactly.
once again, if you feel a way about that and you yourself are a white man, think about that. And it's great if you're a safe person, but you need to also demonstrate behaviors that show and signify that you are in fact safe, so that people like myself, people like you, can like seek allyship with those individuals. But we need to see it to know
Yeah.
that we're safe. So yeah.
And there's always time to change for the better. Like
Oh,
you could
absolutely.
always be a
We all
better
need
person, emit better behavior. Like it's so available for you to rearrange your environment to have better reinforcers. I have had to learn. I'm a millennial. I have had a lot of bad training and education when it comes, excuse me, to certain things. Like growing up, people saying like being gay was quote unquote bad. Excuse me, I got the hiccups now. And then like my
no.
parents would always say, talk to my brother and I, if either of you were ever gay, we would accept and love you. But when I went outside, the culture, not just black culture, white culture too, heavily homophobic. And when you grow up around that, you have to unlearn it. And I had to unlearn it, especially a lot of the unlearning came when I went to college. And I met gay people and I befriended gay people. And so that's a lot where a lot, so that kind of rhetoric, that kind of verbiage, not in my behavior repertoire. The same with the ableism and the R word. Growing up, we were taught that was okay or cool, and then on top of that, being in the Bay Area, the music we have, so like behind like a lot of rap and hip hop kind of took on the ableist terms that we were given, and we kind of made it kind of like the N word. Like, so like there's this thing called "Go Stupid" from Mac Dre.
Yeah.
It's like go stupid, and you like kind of you kind of internalize it and you like make it a endearing term. And we would talk about like they would talk about riding the short yellow bus, and that
Yeah.
was like turned into something to take, maybe not pride in, but just like we're taking it back. You know what I mean? You're calling us these things and we're flipping it on its head. And that was big as I was growing up. So, all that. And you have to unlearn that and unpack that. And yeah. That's that.
No, totally. I agree. And it doesn't matter which type of demographic identity that you are talking about here. It's any, we all have things to learn. Nobody's perfect. We all can learn from each other and our experiences, and that kind of goes back to the double consciousness. Like if you don't experience those identities directly, you can still understand and empathize with them even if you don't have that direct experience. And so absolutely vital to kind of put yourself in somebody else's shoes and have an understanding of what they go through and how you can help provide support and truly
Absolutely.
be actually what you call an ally or co-conspirator.
Yep. Hard shift, if you don't mind.
I don't mind a hard shift. I'm good with that.
I am very mad about something else, something different.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Let's talk about that.
I've been in publication hell for months. I sent this publication in March 23rd. Right now it is July 22nd as we record. They said on the 14th of July the reviews were complete, but I don't have any emails telling me if it was accepted with revisions, denied, declined. I'm sure if it was denied or declined or rejected, it'd be a real quick. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know how long it takes to get this email together. It's been almost 10 days. I am so frustrated. And in the time that it's taken for this, since this status update of it being a review completed, I've had one journal ask for me to review their article, and then just this morning I had two other journals ask me to review articles as the peer reviewer for publication. I am pissed. And this is wild that this is happening. And I'm like, do I send an email and another email and be like, hey, what's going on? Do I just wait longer? I don't want to be rude, but I also want my publication to be able to be out there. What does one do?
I'm not laughing at the situation
Yeah.
or anything. It's like, some people take the angry black man trope and like make it, oh, you're so scary, you're so intimidating. I just laugh at you, so sorry. Like, oh, that's so funny. No, I laugh because I relate. And when you're in academia, the irony of do all this stuff, be super productive, but we're not going to pay you for any of it is really just like mind-boggling to me. And so I know we've had this conversation before, but if you are unfamiliar and you're kind of walking into this space and you have not submitted to journals, you have not conducted research yet, it's all unpaid. And what I find really interesting is that a lot of the journals are behind a big paywall. So if somebody wants to access an article, they might have to pay $40 for an article just to read the article, not even the journal issue or volume, the article, the single article. So, and we don't get any of that money. So I don't know where that money goes. It probably goes to the editors. I'm just not sure, because everything is generally like online now. Maybe like paper publication, maybe that was to offset the cost. I don't know. But anyway, like in a digital age, I don't really see the need to charge for those articles. In fact, everything should probably be open access. But when you rely on unpaid labor for everybody, so ironically, I had 3 journal review requests last week. And so between the two of us, we've had 5 in a week. And I find that so weird, because when it rains, it pours when it comes to this sort of thing. Either you hear nothing for like months, and then all of a sudden you get like tons of like, hey, we want you to review your expertise on this topic, which is, it's funny because you'll call me an expert when you need something from me, but then when you don't need something from me, I'm just another BCBA professor or whatever. I don't know. So like it's interesting to me on the timing. And then second off, when we are given these opportunities, I should say when we're asked for these opportunities for our unpaid labor and our skill set, we are given a timeline. And so the timeline is not in alignment with what you have on your thing. Now, I have waited months to hear back as well. I think the longest I ever waited to hear back from a journal was like 6-7 months. And I'm asked to give a review in like 30 days. So like, what are you doing with all this time? And also like, by the time I heard from that one really long journal review, it was basically like, yeah, this is good, but we don't want to publish it. And it's like, you wasted all my time, that entire period that was unpaid, and now I've got to like go try to find another journal to try to get this published.
Yeah.
It got published, like long story short, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just so many thoughts. So like you're not alone in this struggle, and I just want people to know that this is a pretty common experience.
Yeah, and also like I want to build off this research. I got another study
Yeah.
that I'm just wrapping up, and
Right.
I want to cite different studies and what I mean, build on the research. And to do that, I need
Right.
it to be published. And it's just so frustrating that it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. And I
Do you
just
want to drop the journal name?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no. Let's let this be published first. After it's published,
Or
I'll
get
drop the
rejected
journal
first,
name
whichever.
or get rejected. Yeah, because I won't be coming back. Let me say that right now, real quick. I will not be back. When they ask, oh, give us some feedback on your experience.
Give us feedback on your experience. I forgot they had the audacity to ask for a review. And
Oh,
it's just
hell
like, but you
no.
made me just work for free, and now you want me to
Yeah.
do like give you an opinion on my free labor? Read
Yeah.
the room. Like,
Yeah.
let's figure that one
It-
out.
Super frustrating. So,
Well,
you know,
you'll have to private share the name with me. That way I know not to go to that one.
oh yeah, I will definitely. I will definitely because I am so over it. I'm ready to move on and to greener pastures. Um, you know, so yeah, no, I just
It's valid.
it's frustrating, and it's like we wanna put this stuff out there. I'm gonna pay the $3,000 to make it open access. I've already put the money aside. Don't tell my fiance because we're planning a wedding, and but
Listen,
it'd be all right.
You're an independent individual in your relationship, and y'all's situation is not like that. It's not the,
Yeah,
well, God, my wife spends so much money and blah blah blah, and I hate her for
exactly.
that. We've already
No.
had that conversation. We know
Exactly,
you're not in that
no.
situation.
No, she'd be fine with it.
Oh, totally. Especially if
Yeah.
it meant getting out information that needs to be shared, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't personally know her, full disclosure, but like from everything I understand, she'd totally be cool with that.
Yeah, yeah, she's
So,
fine.
yeah.
She's like, but you're gonna need to accept some more talks or whatever, get some more money so we can be able to pay for this wedding. Because oh
Right.
my God, the cost
Why we
of
eloped.
Yep, no, I get it, and you got a house, so there's
You gotta
pros
pick
and
choose.
cons.
Yeah,
You know.
it's like being an adult. You just have to always weigh the pros and cons. And I
Yeah.
actually was at Five Below yesterday, and I found a shirt that said "Every day there's something to do," and I'm sick of it, and I had to get
Yes.
it because I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. But
Same.
yeah, it's so hard and tiring being an adult.
It is, and something always comes up. Like I will be
Every
just at
time.
on the precipice of catching up to everything.
Oh, yeah.
Students,
Oh.
professors, everybody will be like, hey, Dr. Van, hey, Jared, hey, oh my God, leave me alone. It's
smell
never
it.
a dull moment, and then
They smell
I
the
feel
availability.
they do, and even when I'm not available, I feel bad because like I have people in my DMs that are like genuinely asking for help for like
Yeah.
their kid or
Right.
their
I bet.
student, and I can't help them all. I try to direct them in the right position. Sometimes I try to say yes, I can help when like I just really don't have the time. I have a friend who has uh, who has cerebral palsy, and she, I want to help her figure out her living situation, and like one of my big goals. I have like I used to have, and I still do have these three big goals. One of them is to make it so that people who age out of services have somewhere to go, not only so they can have fun, but if they wanted to get a job, and if they wanted to just hang out, so they can have independent living situations that are dignified. Like, because like if you ever seen the system, once you age out of services, the state and the government don't care about you anymore.
Yeah, totally.
And it's a really sad situation. And it's like, you know, there's people all
true.
around the country that are stuck in a situation that don't have somewhere to go, that want and need somewhere to go, and those services would be so beneficial. So I mean,
Yeah, totally. I
yeah.
know. I feel that too. And luckily, right now my spoons are being managed pretty well and everything. But there are definitely those times that, I have to say no to things. And that's hard because it's not only like I feel like I'm missing out on an opportunity to help, but I worry about if I'm not providing that help, and this is a control thing I have. If I'm not providing that help, what other information is being given to them, and is it bad? And so,
Hmm.
it's like it's scary too. And it goes back to like our conversation about the journals, and so I'm in a position where my part of my job is to encourage students to complete research and publish their research, and it's really
Hmm.
hard knowing the inner workings of that system and knowing how frustrating it is, especially for some of my students who really don't deal with stress very well, to just be like, oh, you'll be fine, you'll be able to publish. It's like, but you talk about the struggles, and I try to be as candid as possible about all of these things, but even then, I still feel like it's frustrating, because you've been through this and you're
Yeah.
talking about the frustration and all of that, and it's just like, at what point we talk about what is it, the cost benefit ratio in ABA,
The
matching law.
matching law.
No, it's someone's
I'm
like
talking about
probably watching.
response. Um,
So the choice and at what point your choice shifts. God,
Behavior economics, delayed
thank you.
discounting.
God, thank you. I hate the topic, but like obviously,
Yeah, yeah.
I can respect the information that it provides. And so it's the
Hmm.
same thing. It's like at what point would you kind of see the struggle within academia and publications and everything and say, you know what, it's not worth it. I don't want any of my students to
Exactly.
feel that way. And so I try to prepare them for that. It's like, hey, this is rough, okay? Like
Hmm.
you're going to hear things that are going to make you feel really bad about yourself, about your work, about other people's work, about your values even. Like I've had my values criticized as a part of that process. And that's hard, but you got to like stand up, brush yourself off, and like go to another journal and try again. So to prepare students for that, I think is just definitely something that's really hard because you and I know those systems, and we
Yeah,
know how hard they are to navigate and how it's just a merit system and who and then also unpaid.
exactly.
I know that was a lot.
I
Sorry.
No, no, no. I agree, and like I was following along with you because like you said, like at what point is it not worth it? I feel
Yeah.
bad when I first started at this at our university. I had a student who did an incredible job. She like defended her thesis, or her applied project,
Hmm.
and it was so good. I was like, oh, you should publish this. We should work on getting you
Yeah.
published. And I didn't have the spoons to be able to follow through. And I
Right.
still think about like every time I feel like I fail a student, even if it's not really a failure, even if it's you don't have the spoons or whatever, I
Yeah.
think about that still. I'm burdened by it. It irks me still that I'm not able to follow through and follow up and do all the things that I wish I could for all the students I have. So
Well, yes, but also like I'm still struggling with this. And where is the line between me providing support or me doing it for you? And
yeah.
so, like, there have definitely been a couple of projects similar in that position, in that vein, where students are like, yeah, I really want to try to get this published and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, you're first author. So here are the expectations you would need to do. But please tell me anything along the way. And they drop it because things come up, life gets harder, whatever. Um, that's not our responsibility necessarily. It's like if you want, you will.
Yeah.
And the degree, publishing, all of it is just persistence, folks. Like that's the hack. Just be persistent, be annoying, just continue, and eventually, I think there will be a payoff. I hope there's a payoff, but that's kind of worked for me. It's just be a nuisance, and don't shut
I
up.
agree. I agree. Be a nuisance and don't shut up. I think that's a great point to end. Like, favorite, subscribe, hit that noti bell to notify you when we drop new content. Comment, reply to a comment, make a friend,
Make your enemy.
make an enemy, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.